Hi everyone, welcome to your practice. This is Steven, and what we're going to do today in the next 10 minutes or so is an active hip warm-up. All of it's going to be done lying on our back, but that doesn't mean that we're just going to relax and chill out there. In fact, we're going to be doing a little bit of active mobility work to warm up sort of all around the hip joint, the front, the back, the sides, the inside, like we normally work in this practice. So come to lie on your back. And straight away lift your right leg up and lengthen the left leg away from you. Nice. If this is too much for the bottom leg, you can also bend it just to make the lift of the right leg a little bit easier. But if it's possible, straighten it out. Even if it means that right leg has a bit of a lower angle, it's closer to the floor, that's fine. So notice we're not holding with the hands, we're not using a belt like we sometimes do. We want the front of the hip to be actively working to bring that leg closer towards the face. Wherever that is for you, that's fine. Good, and then start to open the right leg to the right until it naturally stops. Try not to lift the left hip too much so that you're not collapsing to the right side here. Now this is not the easiest of poses, but as I said, it's an active warm-up. And then lift the right leg back up and then just lean it a little bit over to the opposite side. So I'm going about 45 degrees, but for this one, don't lift the right hip too much. So I'm trying to keep the hips more or less level to the ground, and I'm lengthening the leg actively away from the hip. Good. And then just for a moment, lift the leg straight up, hover the bottom leg, reach both hands forward, and then curl up a little bit. So your lower back is pressing down into the ground. Shoulder blades, if you can, lift them up. And then straighten actively through both legs. Good. Then lower down, start to bend your right knee. I'm going to give a few options. If you need to hold behind the knee and pull down, if you have a bit more space, hold your ankle. And if you have even more space, hold the outside of your right foot. So wherever you're holding, that's fine. But what I'm doing here, as I'm pulling down with that right hand, I'm also pushing up a little bit with the right foot into that resistance. Good, so you should just feel which tissues are working, how that right hip performs in these different poses and setups. Good, and then bend the bottom knee, place your right ankle on the left knee, but it's not that pose where we're holding and we're pulling in with the hands. We're going to be doing the same pose, but just with the active component. So we're not using the hands, we're using the legs to bring the knees closer to the chest. You'll probably find you have a little bit less stretch than the other pose, but a bit more active range, a little bit more stability. Good. And then you can hold that right leg, the knee and the foot probably with your hands, straighten the left leg away, or if you have a bit more space, wrap the elbows around the foot and the knee, and then it's fine to lift the head and the shoulders, straighten actively to that left leg, and you're doing your best to bring the right shin close to the chest. So it's pigeon pose, upside down. Usually we would do this with that right knee on the floor, if you can recognize that. Good. And then release that, go straight to the second side. Lift the left leg straight up. You can keep the right leg bent, but if it's possible, straighten it away, just to have a bit more demand. And then actively lengthen the left leg up. Do something active with your foot. You can point, you can flex, and then do your best to bring the leg close to that left shoulder. Wherever you stop, that's it. It might be all the way over there, it might be super close to your face, or as usual for most of us, somewhere in between. Good. And then we started to open out to the side. Try to keep that right hip stable. Don't go too fast so you can feel where you're starting to collapse to the side. And now we're asking that inner left thigh to lengthen, as we're also doing our best to keep that leg up, of course. Nice. 3, 2, 1. Good. Lift back up. Now we're crossing across the body to about a 45-degree angle. Try not to lift the left hip too much, or at all actually if you can. And again, lengthen the leg, an active foot away from the hip. Good, then come back to center. Start to bend, hold behind the knee, hold the ankle, or hold your foot. It's all good to me. And then pull a little bit down with the hand as your foot is trying to resist it. So imagine your foot is trying to go up to the ceiling, but your hand doesn't agree and is pulling down towards the floor. You get this little tug of war within the hip muscles. Good, then bend your right knee. Place the left ankle on the right knee and then lift everything up towards your chest, but without pulling in with the hands this time. Just feel the difference between that pose we sometimes do with the hands and then the more active mobility version which we're focusing on today. Good, and then you can hold your right foot, which foot is this? The left foot, left knee with your hands, or you can wrap around like cradling the baby. Reach the right leg out. You can keep the head and shoulders lifted and just hang out in this rather active supine pigeon pose, we could call it. The higher that left foot goes towards your face or towards the right shoulder, the more demand you'll feel, and also the closer you squeeze your shin to the chest, the stronger the stretch is going to feel. Good, and then gently release. Draw both knees into the chest. You can rock side to side a couple of times or roll the knees around just to feel into the hips. And then let's come up to a seat. Nice, hopefully you enjoyed this active warm-up. Your hips will move nicely. This is great if you just woke up or after a long day at work. Let me know how it feels and I'll see you here again soon. Take good care.